Hello and welcome back to the All You Can Board podcast. This is episode 14.5, a continuation of episode 14, of course, where we're talking about board game media. So we've had a couple of days to recharge here, get our bearings and, get some more notes in and think about what we're going to talk about here. So we're going to pick things right off pick things back up where we left off, talking about YouTube here. So Dylan, why don't you tell the lovely folks here a little bit about the YouTube algorithm, why we're at the mercy of this almighty algorithm, and tell us your thoughts on the algorithm.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I would say this topic in general is probably one of the main reasons we needed and wanted to split this up into two parts, because YouTube is obviously our bread and butter in a way. Like that's where we start. That's the main location of our audience, where we've done like the majority, 95% of our content. The podcast is obviously new. And the thing that drives it all is an algorithm. And so for those who are really sort of like out of the know with like how YouTube works or whatever, I'm going to very briefly, YouTube has an algorithm like most social media platforms have an algorithm, but I would say YouTube's and things like TikTok and everything are more important when it comes to creators, because it affects how they get seen, which affects how they make money. And if they're doing it, especially as say a full-time job or something to put food on the table, like that, how the algorithm shifts and changes is like any systems that any job you might be working, changing drastically, and you having to sort of adapt to that. And so the algorithm on YouTube determines who sees your videos. Like when we post a new video to our channel, it doesn't mean that everyone is going to see it. And in fact, we don't have barely any control over that. Like we can put tags into the video to help it show up under certain search terms, but think about how many hundreds of thousands, if not hundreds of millions of videos get posted to YouTube every month, every year, whatever. Even just searching the term board games, we're competing with a lot of different videos that have gone live that day, that week, whatever, that have to do with board games, that have to do with specific types of board games, specific games. And so we any channel relies on YouTube pushing our videos out to search results, and especially higher up on search results. And I would say that the biggest thing that I'm going to come back to a lot here, talking about the algorithm, is how unfun and unsatisfying and frustrating it is to try to chase what the algorithm is doing. It is, I would say this right now, if you want to succeed as a YouTuber, if you want to succeed as a content creator on YouTube, when I say succeed, your goal is to just get to the point where you can have this be your full-time job. Like you are making your $40,000 to $60,000 to $80,000 a year on ad revenue, and you're supported by your platform. To do that, you're going to have to chase what the algorithm is telling you to do, whether it's because of suggested video ideas, whether it's because you're seeing a trend take off, whatever. And the reason I say it's unsatisfying and frustrating is because it's not fun to listen to, and I was gonna say an AI. It's not like a new thing. Algorithms have been around for a while. I know AI has become a popular thing lately, but it's not necessarily fun to be like, oh, I want to do this video where I do a deep dive, or Carly, you want to do a video where you're deep diving on Agricola because you have years and years of experience, games under your belt, you think you can provide value. And to know that you just doing that video and doing something you're proud of, before it even gets to people's eyes, before you even know if people have responded well to this and enjoy it, you are battling whether or not YouTube is even going to give it the time of day to show it to people. And the way that, I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how the algorithm works, but the idea that it could just look at your video as it gets posted and say, well, we don't have a lot of search terms for Agricola right now, or that's an old game, there's already a lot of content on that, people aren't searching, so we're not going to show it. It already puts you at such a disadvantage for content that maybe people would be interested in if they knew it existed. But YouTube is like most social media platforms is driven by trends, and I really just don't like chasing trends. It's a trend because everyone's doing it, and why would I want to do what everyone else is doing unless I thought I could do it better or do it in a way someone else hasn't done it yet? And there's a value to that. But if you're just looking and saying, oh man, Marvel Champions content is through the roof, it's really popular right now, so I need to do Marvel Champions content, you're kind of just doing what you need to do to like succeed. And I know that doesn't sound bad. Like we're all doing, we need to succeed, but like I would just question, like I'm least passionate about the content I'm making when I'm making it for the sole purpose that YouTube is telling me that this is something that'll make our views go higher or make us money. Because then I'm not really doing it for the right reasons. Like I like to think that people connect with our content and connect with our videos because they see the passion come through, because they see our enthusiasm come through, and we can do a video that's, YouTube can say, right now all people want to see is more 2-player board games. And it's like, well, we just did a 2-player board game video. And they're like, well, but you know what? People want more. And it's you'll make bank if you do another 2-player game video. It's like, well, okay, we can sit down and do another one. But now we have to not feign enthusiasm, but there's videos we'd rather be doing. There's content we'd rather be doing. So we have to get ourselves psyched up to do this video that for sure people will enjoy, I'm sure, but I don't know that they're going to, if they would like our content and like our channel as much as some people say they do, if we had been doing that through the entire course of our channel and just constantly chasing what everyone else is doing. Because why, then we would really come down to whether or not we as personalities are just better than other personalities doing the same 2-player video. And you see that with like the time of year when people do top 50s, time of year people do most anticipated games, like the holiday gift guides, things we've participated in, all those things, and then have kind of shied away from because it just wasn't fulfilling to us. And so it started to make me think, is this really fulfilling to our audience to just have us be another channel doing that,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, there's two things I want to touch on here. The one is the example you gave of me doing like an Agricola video, and we're going to circle back to this more in depth in terms of like, if I was going to make a video on something like Agricola, I would be making it knowing that I'm making this more as a long-term thing. I'm trying to make a more evergreen video. I don't really care about how many, views or how well it performs in the first day, the first week, whatever. But my thought is like, whether it's months from now, years from now, that, it's a popular enough game. And so that's often the decision that you're making when it comes to making a video, whether it's trying to decide, do I make this like a more conversational, off the cuff, unscripted, more, I don't want to say low effort video, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or do I put like a ton of planning and work into this and whatever, and one is going to be, it might get more views on the front end versus the back end. You might be going short term versus long term. So it's not even without the algorithm itself. Like, yeah, I'm thinking about the game and what YouTube is going to show based on search terms and all that. A lot of it is just hoping that it will have its day in the sun kind of long term. The other thing was just, I got to disagree with you on one thing, or maybe you don't disagree. Maybe it's just clarifying when you said the thing about like basically in order to go full time on YouTube, that you kind of have to chase the algorithm. I can't remember if you mentioned that that's board games specifically, because I think in other areas, like let's say like BMXing or snowboarding or something, like, or video games, whatever, these fields where there's like a much wider, a much larger audience, or even like home appliance repair, like there's so many low quality home appliance repair things where it's clearly just some guy putting his phone like up against, it's like horrible quality lighting or whatever, but there's like 2 million views because people need to know how to fix their dishwasher or whatever, right? So I think there are certain hobbies or fields where you can get away with being creative, and that creativity will be rewarded just because there's so many more people willing to take a chance. Whereas on board gaming, it's already so niche that to then not make videos about the things that like, it's such a niche hobby. All of these people are looking for the most popular games, or a bunch of them, and then we're going to go make niche content already within a niche hobby. And it's like, yeah, you're catering to like, there's going to be, we've gotten a lot of these comments in the past where like certain videos, even if they don't perform super well, maybe get a couple thousand views, and sometimes you get people say like, oh my god, this is one of the best videos I've seen, or like, I love this video, this is the best video I've seen in months. And we're like, oh, that's awesome for that person, but then it kind of makes you wonder like, why didn't more people like it, or why didn't more people get to see it? Why didn't YouTube show it to more people? Like, where are we, what's the, like, I don't want to say what's the answer here, but like, yeah, are we looking to then, it's hard to think of let's make a video that's going to get more eyeballs on it. Like, I want to instead think let's make a better video, right? Like, we're always looking at it as let's make the best video we can, not let's make the video in the way that is most likely to get someone to click on it.
Well, and so that kind of is a great bit of segue, but also just continuation of this, because what we're seeing now, it's hard not to talk about AI. Like in the last number of years, AI is showing up in content creation spaces a lot. And, thankfully I think people have identified it as the slop that it is, and AI slop as a term has just taken off. But whether it be in full videos, whether it be in full channels, whether it be just in thumbnails, whether it be in people writing their scripts with it, like I've the amount of times I have watched YouTube videos in the last 6 months, and I know a minute in that the person wrote their script with AI, not even wrote, generated their script with AI, because there's certain tendencies that like you can just see across them. And like maybe that goes over a lot of people's heads that aren't as familiar with AI, but like the embarrassment I would feel knowing that there's enough people out there that like are like, this is obviously an AI script, like there's clear signs, right? And I just, the one thing I would kind of like bring it back to is AI is able to create this content in the first place because it's reaching out and scouring and getting information on all the content that already exists. And so what you're seeing is like not average isn't the right word. It's like you're seeing what is basically like said by the AI is determined that this is the type of content that will engage or that will get clicks or whatever, but like based on everything that exists and like what is like, I wish I had a better term for this. I keep wanting to say average, but like if you are like making content, like
aggregate, is that the word you're looking
like
for?
Yes, like it's basically like it's scouring everything to say this is basically the kind of content that you're talking about because this is what we can pull from. And so one, your content's not original because it's only based off content that's already been made, and two, it's you're making content specifically for the sole purpose of essentially like exactly what you said, what is going to get clicks, what is going to succeed, quote unquote, but in terms of like people watching that video. But it's the death of creativity to be like, I am going to pawn off the part of the work that should be the most exciting. If you're not excited to write a script, if you're not excited to shoot a video, if you're not excited to run a YouTube channel, then don't do it. Like that, there's no reason to do it. You need to be passionate about this to do it because of how hard it is to make money and everything. Like passion is what drives it. If you're pawning off the creative aspects of this, even by saying like, well, I'm not very creative, then I don't know why you've picked a creative field and said, I'm going to get AI to do it. You know what I mean? Like learn how to do it your way or in a way that is the content you want to watch and make that. Don't make what AI is telling you is like already been made and is like now just being repurposed in a way that they think everyone's going to respond to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it waters the whole thing down for everyone. It makes it worse. Like for the people watching the videos, if everyone's doing the same thing, it just gets boring, it gets repetitive, whatever. But even for the creators making the videos, if they all start making we, whatever, or I guess we're all creators lumping in the same category, but like if we're all making the same types of videos, then it's also harder on us to come up with ways to be creative because we're all doing the exact same stuff, right? Like, and let's say you have 50 channels and 47 of them are doing similar stuff and 3 channels are kind of trying to stand out, do their unique thing, and they're struggling, then suddenly one of those 3 channels changes it up and starts kind of following the formula a bit more, and suddenly their channel blows up and they become successful. Then those other 2 people are like, well, why are we trying to do this? Like, I guess we'll just follow suit. And then it's, again, so I feel like the more people that are, I don't want to say fighting back, like this isn't like political justice, isn't like a good, I'm not trying to say this is like, yeah, stand up for what's right kind of thing. Like it's not like a big moral thing, but I just think the more people that are trying to do things in a unique way and stand out, and the more people that do that and succeed, the better it is for anyone who's coming into the space new or thinking about doing this to see like, hey, I don't have to do everything a certain way. Like I can put my own spin on something and be creative. And maybe a lot of people won't give my channel a chance, but maybe there's going to be a subset of people that do. And maybe that's going to be big enough that my channel will thrive. Like whether it's with the goal of doing it full time or not, but just seeing your channel thrive and knowing that, people are getting value out of it. Yeah,
totally. And the thing I would caution people listening just in general about YouTube right now is like I don't know about everyone else, but the sentiment I hear in my community with the people around me and my job and my friends, my family, like everyone, like it's not that everyone I know hates AI. It's just that, like, I would say like 90% of the people I engage with have very, very negative things to say about AI. Don't want to engage with it beyond, like, in terms of generative AI, I should keep clarifying. I will always say I think that there's valuable uses for AI when it comes to like productivity, or to like, there's been AI in Adobe programs for a long time. It helps us do motion graphics and edit. Like, that's a different kind of AI. I'm talking about generative AI that is trying to say that like a robot can make art, right? Like, or can
it stunts creativity. And
yes. Yeah. The thing I would caution is that I don't want this to sound conspiracy theory, but this is truly what I believe. The amount of AI content you see on YouTube, and the amount of views you see this stuff getting, and the amount you see it in your feed, even when people keep talking about AI slop, especially in things like shorts and stuff like that, for a long time it was prevalent. You have to remember that Google owns YouTube, and Google is a company who has invested billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars into AI development. Like, I don't want to say they need AI to succeed. I just want to say that, like, there's a reason people keep talking about a bubble. There's a reason people keep cautioning about it, because the amount that has been invested into this is staggering, especially for something that people are pushing back on so quickly. So it is in Google's best interest to make it seem like AI is succeeding, even if it's not. And again, I don't have the metrics in front of me to say one way or the other, so I'm just going off of what I hear. But when you start to see a lot of AI videos having a lot of views, or you see, like, I know you're probably going to get to it at some point, but like, you're talking about how there's a board game YouTube channel that is entirely AI generated. Everything about it is AI, and it has like more subscribers than us all of a sudden. It's possible that many people are like, this is what I've wanted. I've wanted AI created board game content, but I doubt it. Like, I truly doubt it. And so when you see AI everywhere on the platform like YouTube, remember that the company who owns YouTube needs you to want to see AI content. Like, they need it. If AI failed tomorrow, it's not just gonna, like, they'll be fine. Google's not gonna fold, but like, they're not gonna not care either. They're gonna be in a jam. People are gonna be in trouble for how much they banked on AI. So like, there's bias built into the platform, and there's even bias on creators like us or anyone talking negatively about it. The other thing I wanted to mention that ties into this is you might have noticed, if you're someone who consumes like TikTok content and YouTube content and stuff like that you'll, I think it happened a lot on TikTok first, but maybe it was YouTube Shorts after, where instead of certain people saying like the word certain terms like death or like suicide or different things like that, they determined that the algorithms, if they knew that those words are present in your video, that the algorithm would make your video perform worse, because advertisers wouldn't want to be on that content. People don't want to see that content, whatever. The algorithm determined that content's going to perform worse. So they came up with other terms instead of using those. So people, instead of saying he died, they would say he was unalived in videos. And it was the stupidest thing, but if they are still doing it today, because it makes it so the algorithm doesn't see that bad term and it doesn't hurt your video. But like, think about the hoops that you're jumping through to say, I want to play this algorithm so that my video performs better. So I'm going to use bad English and weird terms and make my video worse for doing it, just because I want this video to succeed. Imagine if you took all that time and energy and put it into making your video just better creatively and not caring about the algorithm. If we all did that, yes, your video might perform worse at the start because of the algorithm, but the algorithm would adjust. Like, at some point, YouTube also needs to make money off the platform, right? And so when you see people going to such lengths to game the algorithm to succeed, and they're the ones who benefit the most, that's what frustrates us as creators, because we are purposely doing everything more ethically by choice. We are making content that we think that we would want to watch, and we hope other people would want to watch. We're straying away from content that we think is flooding the platform and is way too present. We're going against AI, even if it would make our job easier or make content quicker, because we don't believe in it, all this stuff. And we get hurt for doing all those right things because other people will just game the algorithm and succeed from it. And then people are watching that content. So YouTube's like, well, whatever, win-win. Like, we get money, they get, and they just, the cycle continues, right? And so I think at some point, like, the onus is on content creators. And I don't mean that to say that it's our like content creators' fault that we're in this situation. But if you're a content creator and you are using AI, if you are gaming the algorithm, if you are doing a video or 2 videos a day, not because you want to, and especially, and maybe even because maybe you really don't want to, but you know that this is the only way to like keep the machine going and to keep like income coming into your channel. Like, at some point, I would just ask you, like, just take a pause at some point and just ask yourself the question of like, do I enjoy this aspect of what I'm doing? Like, do I enjoy gaming the algorithm? Do I enjoy using AI over human artists? Do I enjoy using AI for my scripts? Do I enjoy like if the answer is no to any of those, like, I just don't do it. Like, I and that might be rich coming from me, for like, I have another job. I don't need the income coming from this right now, but I did for 6 months. Like, that was something like that. It felt way more important to me. And I still felt like I couldn't go down those avenues, because then I'm becoming the enemy. You know, not enemy is the wrong word. I'm becoming part of the problem that I see, and the direction where we're going. And I don't feel good about becoming part of the problem. And I refuse to sort of like do it, even if we can succeed. Like, the reason we are in the state that we are in the world is because people game a whole lot of systems, and they do it because they can, and because they can get away with it. But just because you can do something, just because you can get away with it, doesn't mean you should, doesn't mean it's responsible, doesn't mean it's good for your community, doesn't mean it's good for the world, doesn't mean it's good for you, for your soul, for the people around you. And like, I just wish that like people will listen to me say this and say like I'm naive, and like, yeah, it's like asking for world peace. And like, I agree. I'm a naive person, naively optimistic sometimes, but you cannot convince me that the world wouldn't be a better place if we were able to lean more into creativity and into not just trying to like, oh, like, yeah, we have this tax system and it's to make sure that people pay the right taxes, but there's all these loopholes that if you hire the right accountant, they'll get all the like loopholes for you, and then you don't have to pay all those. It's like, well, but that's not why the system exists. Like, sure, you can do that, but like, why do you need to game every system just to get like scrounge a little bit more? You know what I mean? Like, the system is there for a reason, and no system's perfect, and a lot of them are broken, but then let's do that. Let's not game it. Let's fix it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but it's just like this. No, but
I'm loving the passion, loving how into it you are, and like, I'm just sitting here nodding along because like, as you're talking about this, I'm just more and more thoughts keep flooding into my head about just working jobs that you don't feel passionate about. For example, like, basically, like, nothing kills the joy of something more than basically like making you feel like you're forced to do something that you don't want to do, right? So when you have a YouTube channel, you're making videos and you want to make videos a certain way, but you feel like you have to do them a different way in order to be successful. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth your time, or you're not going to succeed financially, or whatever your goals are, or whatever. But like, basically, think of any job that you've ever had in the past that was there to pay the bills, that was not like hey, I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life, you know, where you're just like, yeah, I don't love it, wouldn't be my dream job, but like, yeah, it's good for now, kind of thing. Eventually, every single job like that, eventually you lose interest. Some people can stick it out longer than others, and whatever, but like, eventually you lose interest, you start to either perform worse, you get bored, whatever, and at that point, when you burn out, now you can't fall back on your own confidence and trusting in your skills, because you got to where you got, not with your own skills, but on following what everyone else is doing. So when you hit that wall and you burn out, you're not going to be like, well, fine, I'm just going to go do my own thing now. No, a lot of those people, when you see a lot of these channels, they burn out, they hit this wall, they go back to try and do the same thing until they eventually peter out, in the same way that someone kind of like stubbornly hangs on to a job until they either get fired or eventually realize like, this job's killing me, I got to go find something else. But yeah, feeling stuck in something and doing things out of a sense of obligation is never going to bring you joy. And the thing that kills me most about this, and this is something we've talked about a lot, is like, and a big reason why we take the approach we do is we're very protective of our hobby. Like, I can say with full confidence that board gaming for the past 10 to 15 years probably has been the biggest hobby in my life, and will probably continue to be. It's my number one thing I choose to do with my free time. And any time that our, like, even when we talk about having done paid previews for the channel years ago, we tried that, or whatever we've done that has ever felt like it's like spending time with board games that isn't pure joy, anything that has ever felt like it borders on like work, whether it's like little tasks, administrative tasks for All You Can Board, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff, I immediately like get this almost feeling of like, be careful, like don't let this creep into the things you love too much. I never want to end up feeling like I'm burnt out from board gaming because of chasing this success or some arbitrary metric of something, and then suddenly it's like, well, now I've kind of lost my interest in board gaming because other parts of the industry, you know, like took the wind out of my sails. So we're going to keep doing things the way that we're doing them and just hope that the channel grows and succeeds the way it is. And if not, then like that's like, I'm comfortable, you know, if we don't succeed, if the channel just sort of like continues along the way and it is what it is and whatever, that's fine with me. But I'll be much more comfortable with that than taking a shortcut to make more money.
Yeah, 100% agree. Another thing I'll mention, just kind of that ties into this too, is when it comes to like things like titles, like clickbait and thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. It ties in a lot to what we're talking about, the algorithm, where it just feels like, you know, a sensationalized headline, right? Like and this isn't, I mean, this is not unique to our hobby. It's not unique to YouTube. This is like, you see it in the news all the time. Someone questions the president of a country, and the headline will read, you know, so-and-so slams president of whatever, and then you watch it and it's like they literally just like kindly ask a question, but like that wouldn't get a click, right? And the amount of time that goes into just being like, how can I write this in a way that someone will click it, so I'll trick them into watching it. It's like, but like, why are we tricking people into watching our content? Like that to me is like that's not the world I want to live in. Like, so, you know, there was a time where we used to, and I know it was even more so me, like, you know, I was more focused on like capitalizing certain words in titles or thumbnails with like us looking surprised in the thumbnail, which is still a thing. Like things that it's like, oh, this is proven to work. But like you eventually get down this like, sort of, at least for me, it was like, where does it end then? Like how much am I willing to, what length am I willing to go to get someone to click on my video? Like the amount, like I'm going to highlight two things that you've seen, or I've seen, because I will watch TikTok videos. Like trends take off that tie into this. So like one, at some point people started taking like the end of their TikTok video and editing it so it was at the start, so that you would, and then it would just like go back to the beginning after like say 10 seconds, because they realized that, well, everything we've learned is people would swipe away in the first 5 seconds. So we're going to put like the moment where this person crashes their bike at the start, and then all of a sudden, like right before the crash finishes, it's going to go back to the start of the video, and then you have to keep watching the rest of the video to get to the crash again, and then it goes back to the beginning. They crash. Like they did this, and did this weird editing. It's not good for the viewer. I can't imagine any, like, I can't imagine people are like, oh yes, another one of these edited videos like this. So you can't tell me it's like, well, people are doing this because people want it. They don't want it. You're tricking them into thinking like, oh, this is what the video is. I get to see this quickly. And they're like, oh, now I have to go watch another minute to get there, or I have to like swipe through it or scrub through it or whatever. But like this trick, which is exactly what it is, worked. Like and it's worked for a long time, right? And so another one, which I hate this one so much, and I don't know if people know about this one, but I've seen it on enough websites where it's like tricks to like game the algorithm that I know it's what people are doing. They will purposely make an error, a spelling error on something you see in the video, or in a pronunciation or something they say in the video, and they will do it early in the video, and it'll be something where like you're like, this, like they think that that's how that's pronounced, and they do that because they know like 5 people will go to the comments and say like, that's not how you pronounce that, and that comment gets the algorithm to promote their video more. So you're incentivized to make mistakes on purpose so that people go into your comments and correct your mistakes, and then like you either just don't respond to the comments, which is normally what I see, or you respond and be like, oh cool, I didn't realize that. But now you've got the engagement and your video gets promoted more. So we're telling people like, yeah, game the system, make mistakes on purpose, pretend you made mistakes. They're not even legitimate mistakes. You're lying to your audience to get them to engage with your video, because otherwise you don't think you can get a comment otherwise. So
I did not know this was a real thing, but I hate this more than you probably know.
I knew you would, and I've seen it enough times that it just like I've commented a couple times on like anonymous accounts being like, I know what you're doing, just because I want the creator to know that they're not just like I someone knows what you're doing. You're not like you should be embarrassed by this, right? Like, these are the lengths people will go, and we've seen this. Like, this is not a new thing. This has been, like I said, in the news. It's been everywhere with clickbait and all that kind of stuff. But like, we are fostering that culture. Like, we are perpetuating this problem that's existed. And rather than like say, let's not participate in this, let's just make good content, tell people exactly what they're getting, we're just saying, well, you know what? Like, we're encouraging other creators and other people to do it, because we're like, this is how you succeed. And it's like, you're measuring success like completely differently than I am. Like, if your idea of success is, well, your channel got subscribers and views and money, it's like, sure, then yeah, you've quote unquote succeeded. But if what you did to get there was make mistakes in your video on purpose, use AI to make your thumbnails, put sensationalized clickbaity titles in your video, and edit your video in a way that is like not good for the audience, but just like gets people to not click away after 5 seconds. You've done 4 things to trick your audience into watching your content, and then you're walking away saying like, I'm a successful YouTuber. And really, like,
look
you're
at those
a failure.
views. Look at those
like,
views. Yeah.
Like, you might be a success in the sense that like you have your base and everything, but like I would go on a limb and say in 10-15 years, you're going to be mentally exhausted by because you will know that this is what you do to get to be a success, quote unquote, right? Like, even if you have everyone else fooled, when you go to bed at night, like, you're the person that's making clickbaity headlines, using AI to make your thumbnails, writing your scripts with the AI, pretending you've played a board game, whatever the case may be. Like, if you are doing any of these things just because you really want to succeed on YouTube, like, you are in it for the wrong reasons. And like, I wish that was more identifiable, because I struggle to think that audiences want to watch creators who are doing all those things. But I don't fault the audience when they don't know that some of this stuff is happening, or when you see so much of it that you're like, well, that's just what it means to be a YouTuber. Like, that's, I think, part of the reason why you and I wanted to do it differently, is because we don't want to be like called influencers and YouTubers when that's like the immediate thing people think of, right? Like, can we just be like normal dudes who talk about board games, and we're not trying to trick you into anything? And so if you like listening to us, if you like watching our footage, if you like our topics, then great. But like, you're not like being like, oh yeah, I watched one of their videos, but it's because I thought it was this, then I clicked away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like, I've thought about this a lot before, because I know that I'm not the, like, I don't know how to say this without being like sounding too hard on myself or whatever, but like, I know that on like a first impression, if you just like clicked on a video and I'm there talking and this is your first time seeing and hearing me or whatever, you're probably not going to like, I'm not like a high energy, exciting person to listen to. I know that. I have my strengths, but I know where my weaknesses are too. And I know that, like, even when we used to talk about doing videos before, like, I was often defaulting to you to intro, because I'm like, Dylan, you're way more energetic. Like, you do the intro to this video. So, like, I've thought before, like, I know that I could try to work on my intros, or be like, hey, it's all you can board, like, be super high energy, but like be like fake. Like, I could like perform
being
in
authentic.
a way that, exactly, that feels very, very forced. And yeah, those first few seconds would probably be watched more, and then the algorithm might promote the videos more. But like, over time, whether it's by that first video or 5 videos in, people are going to be like, okay, this guy's like a caricature. Like, people don't talk this way, right? But like, yeah, that might get those views up front, but I'm not willing to like, yeah, for everyone who's been watching our channel to be like, why is Carlos suddenly doing this? This is weird. Like, why is he suddenly, like, it would just feel so unnatural and forced. And so, like, we're just talking about this whole thing about, like, views and clickbait, I kind of, like, liken it almost to, like, a business. Let's say you had a restaurant or whatever type of business, and you advertise, and your whole goal, like, there's 2 different businesses that are selling the same stuff. One is, like, very clear, like, hey, we're a garden shop, whatever, we sell, you know, and then the other one's got, like, fireworks shooting off at front, and there's, like, you'll never believe what's in store, and they've got this big marketing or whatever. like if the big fancy store gets 100 people to walk in, but like 90 or 95 of those people are disappointed and they're like, what was all this? Like, this was all for show. This was nothing. Like, and they leave disappointed, being like, this was not at all what was advertised. Meanwhile, the other store might only get 20 people instead of 100, but if they all go in and they get exactly what they came for, those people are going to leave. They're maybe going to come back. They're going to tell other people about it. So it's not always just about like, do the video that gets the most views, because a bunch of people might then pick the option on YouTube to like hide this channel from my recommended, or hide this channel from my feed. Don't show me videos like this. Or if you click on a video and within 5 seconds you've clicked away, that's bad. Like that view is not, like, you could get 100 to 1,000 of those views, but if people are leaving your video after 5 seconds, your watch time is terrible. And for those who don't know, like watch time, basically just like the percentage of your video that is viewed, and click-through rate, which is basically like the percentage that someone who is shown the thumbnail for your video will actually click on it. Those are the two biggest determining factors on whether YouTube will continue promoting your content. So that's why the thumbnail and the title and the intro is something that so many people spend so much time on, because if they can get a lot of people to click and a lot of people to watch at least the first couple minutes or a good portion of that one video, suddenly YouTube is just like showing everyone your video, everyone your channel. But it feels weird to think like, well, should we make one video like that just to get like again, it's like, am I making the video to make the best video I can, or am I making videos specifically for YouTube? I just want to be able to think about it as I'm making the best videos, and YouTube just happens to be the platform that we post them on. Not I have to think of this video as making it for YouTube. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, totally. And before I forget, because this is something I wanted to do, kind of because we're on the topic, like in terms of when we were talking about videos that like we want to do or we think is the content we want to watch, or that will be like enjoyable for, but maybe on a more niche audience, versus like the content that YouTube is telling us people want, or that everyone else is making. Like there's a staggering difference in like the amount of revenue you make, and it illustrates, and I know why people make the content that the algorithm wants, or figure out ways to game the algorithm. Because if you're trying to like make it your job and you really are prioritizing making revenue, making money, then like, yeah, there's a huge difference. So like for reference, like when I did, or when we did the like the 2-player board game championship video, like that's a video got like 2,600 views, and we made $20 off that video.
It was 2, 3, 4 months ago, something like that, right?
Yeah. And then a video that like from the series of like when I go over game mechanics, and I go over like what that game mechanic is, and then I give you some like categories of what that game, what games you might be interested in for that category. Like the last one I did was auction bidding, or if not the last one, was one of the last ones, and it's got 1,700 views, and it made $8. Contrast that to the best 2-player board games that we did, and it got 14,000 views because YouTube said 2-player games are something people want. We made $122 off it, right? So if someone is like, well,
and it's not like we put a lot more time or effort into that. Like that's an important thing to state, is the amount of time and effort we put in is probably pretty similar for those videos.
Yeah. So if you're someone that's like, well, I want to be a success on YouTube, I want to do this full time. It's like, yeah, if you know that every video you do is going to get like 14,000 to 20,000 views because you're chasing all the things that, currently being searched for and every other channel is doing, then absolutely you can make like that. There you go. You can make $120 off those videos. And if you're releasing a video a day and can keep up that content train, then great. It's just that, like, again, if what you're making is a gap, if that content doesn't exist, and that's why YouTube is recommended, or that's why people want to see it, then I think that's a great thing to do, especially if you're interested in it, primarily if you're interested in it. But if, like, in our hobby, and because it's a niche, you see this way more, it's like, I think you've seen less of it now, but when we were at like the height of our involvement, in like 2023, everyone was doing top 10 videos. Like you would see a new top 10 video to do with a topic about board games almost every single day. Absolutely every single week.
I think they are still happening almost every day.
Okay. Yeah. So like we don't do it as often. And the reason we don't do it's not that they're not fun. Like it can be fun to rank things 10 to 1 and stuff. It's just that like everyone is doing it. And so it gets to the point where any topic we could think of, if I search that on YouTube, it's like, well, yeah, someone's already done top 10 worker placement. Someone's already done top 10, evergreen games. Like these all exist. And if I don't have a good enough spin on to do like my version of it, or if like I don't think that my opinion stands out enough to exist amongst everyone else, I'm really just doing it to cash in on something I know will be like a success, like we'll get views or we'll get revenue. And it's just like, I got to tell you, like at least for me, and obviously this is just coming from me, like for me to do the work of setting up the camera, setting up the lights, writing the script, like doing my prep, playing the games I need to play, all to do a video that I'd much rather be doing a different video, but I'm only doing this because the algorithm will treat it nicely. Like that I didn't get into the algorithm business. I don't want to be in the algorithm business. I don't want my job to be trying to keep up with what Google is telling everyone that they should watch, because that's really what it comes down to. Like, sure, we can say, well, no, it's not what Google's telling us. It's what Google's algorithm has determined based on everyone's viewing habits. It's like, that's what they say. And if you trust Google as a company and you say 100%, that's the only thing that happens here, then that's fine. But like, I don't I don't trust Google when they have an incentive to get shorts to be watched because they're trying to compete with Instagram, or they need AI videos to be watched because they have invested in AI. I don't trust a company like that. We've seen more than ever. There's more evidence every single day that exists not to trust these companies. I would question, how do you possibly trust these companies that they're feeding you the content that people actually want to see? Like, if anything, my advice is to, when you use YouTube, don't even look at the suggested things, even if like it is videos that like you would just search them, search the content you want, like subscribe to the channel so that you can get that content fed to you as it gets posted. Like, do the step of searching out your content, because that will teach the algorithm and tell the algorithm more than them constantly feeding your main feed with AI videos and you assuming that this is just what YouTube is now. And eventually you just kind of give it and click on it, or that's all that you're getting fed and that's all you're seeing, right? So it's a complicated topic, but like, yeah, like even just to be a little more transparent with like some of our numbers and stuff, like I think the most revenue we've ever made on a video is one of our holiday gift guides. And if it's not, it's in the top 3 or top 4. It's like, it's one of the top ones. And it's up there with like Lost Ruins of Arnak, How to Play, and a couple others. But the reason that the gift guide is like number 1 is not because it's one of our like best videos. It's because it releases we would release them around November, around Black Friday, as everyone else would. And
ours were out usually earlier than the average. We
Yes.
usually had them early November, so they already had 5,000-10,000
Yeah.
views before it even got to Black Friday.
Yeah. And so what are people searching on YouTube going into the holidays, especially if they have people who like board games that they're buying gifts for? What board game should I buy, right? When new board games are out. And so not only are our videos being fed to people, but the way that YouTube charges advertisers to put their ads on videos, they can charge advertisers more money to have their ads on videos where it's specifically saying, here's like, it's a gift guide of what to buy, because the people are already in shopping mode. And so advertisers will pay more money to be on there. So we make more money, sure, but we're now incentivized to make videos that are best for companies and advertisers to get you to buy their products, right? And like, we're not going on there being like, you should buy, like we're telling people what to buy, but it's based on like our love of board games. So I'm not saying that we were being shills or anything, but it's hard not to feel like one when you know that like you're incentivized to just sell people products, right? Like I'm not a salesperson, but yet I'm being like an extension of all these companies to get their products sold. And for sure, like there's a part of that when you're influencing people on their purchases, whether you like it or not. But there's blatantly doing it with a gift guide saying you should buy this holiday season. And then there's us like doing reviews of games and someone like listening intently and saying, yeah, this sounds up my alley. Like there's a difference between those, right? And one felt dirtier and one felt like more ethical.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the gift guides, and I noted a few things from our analytics before even getting on here, because I wanted to highlight like a few of the, especially like the highest earning videos that we've had, and the gift guides that we did, because I think we only did it twice, or maybe we did 3. I think we did 2021, 22, and 23. I think the last time we did was 2023. So the first thing I'll mention is the video on our channel that has made the most money by far is the Lost Ruins of Arnak How to Play video, but I think that's primarily due to the number of views. Like, it has like 130,000 views, and even 130,000 views, that video has made just over $1,000. And that's been out there for like 4 or 5 years now. And keep in mind that video doesn't have any like mid-roll ads. It's just the ads that they'll just play an ad before the video, right? The next highest earning video of ours after that, it's a drop off of almost half. So the numbers 2 through 6 in terms of highest earning videos are all around $500 per video, compared to over $1,000 for that Arnak How to Play. But all those videos in those top 6 that I'm saying have made $500, those have over 60,000 views. So just got a sort of idea. And every channel is going to be different depending how short your videos are, longer, watch times, click-through rate, all that kind of stuff, right? But also in that top 10, in that 7 to 10 range for videos, are two of those gift guides, which each made like around like $300-400 from like 25,000 views. So like, I looked it up, and basically they say that the average amount of money that you make on, like, the average YouTube video will earn anywhere from like $2 to $10 per 1,000 views. I know that's a pretty big range, $2 to $10 per 1,000. Let's just say it's $5 per 1,000 views, okay? Just as an average. Those holiday gift guides, so there's a what's it called? Like what's the word I'm looking for? There's a term, basically, in the YouTube analytics. So it's a metric. That's what I was looking for. There's a metric in YouTube analytics called playback-based CPM, which is going to show you how much it says how much advertisers pay every 1,000 times that your watch page content is viewed with ads. Most of our videos on our channel that I looked through are in that like $15 to $18 range. The gift guides are around $30. So they're almost double. That just shows you how much more people those companies are paying to have their ads shown. And it's just weird that like we could post 2 videos that perform similarly, and one might make double the amount of money just because it's about buying stuff around Black Friday. And again, that's where it feels gross. Like, now it's like, well, then the part of my brain that's thinking about money is like, well, what other times of year can we try to capitalize on? Can we do something, like 2-player games around Valentine's Day, and let's do stuff about like scary themed games around Halloween, and let's do holiday stuff around the holidays, and let's just start looking at the calendar and capitalizing on every trend and thing that comes up at times of the year so that we're lining things up. But then it just feels like we're, again, not really in control of what we're doing. We're just like following the trends and doing what we know is going to be successful, regardless of like trying to stand out or whatnot. I also thought it was interesting to see that your Marvel Champions videos were around $20 per 1,000 views, which is, again, like way higher than average. And I think that's because people are like trying to decide whether to buy these packs, or maybe they did and they're trying to get these.
And it was a niche within a niche, right?
Yes, that too. Too.
So there wasn't a lot of like, I don't want to use the word competition, but like other creators at the time. I think there's a lot more now, but like I was filling a void for something that I was passionate about, right? So it was kind of like a win-win in that sense. And I think like that's, if you can find the win-win and like I would say that, for instance, like the 6 solo board games that changed solo game for me, that if like that video has gotten like, I think like 40,000 views and it's made like $200. If
we've earned like 1,000 subscribers from it.
Yeah.
Which is like huge. That's a lot of people who are going to come back to our channel.
Yeah. And like if I knew that I could do content like that and it was always going to get a response like that, it was always going to like make that kind of ad revenue, absolutely, I would only do content like that because I love it, and I would feel good about it, and I would be like getting the financial reward for it. The trouble is that the algorithm is unpredictable too. Like I did that video and then I followed it up with a similar video in the same vein that wasn't about solo board games, and it did like 6,000 views compared to 40,000 views. Even me doing 2 episodes of like the quest for the best solo game, the first one got 14,000 views and made it seem like, oh, you're onto something, and then the next one got like 4,000 views or 5,000 views or something like that. And so like the only consistency that it really exists where you can be like, I know I can keep getting a certain amount of views, that like in terms of like a sure thing, is like all the content that already exists that people are doing a whole bunch of. Like, I'm not, again, we said in the part 1, we're not naming channels, so I'm not going to name any channels, but there's YouTube channels for board games out there that are even like on the newer end that you see, like I can see the content they do regularly, and it's like you are doing all the content that YouTube, that like it is the thumbnails, the way the video is presented, even if it's really great, like great shot, great B-roll and everything, it's done in a way where it's like, this is playing to the algorithm. This is playing to what is going to get YouTube to say, yes, we are going to feed this video to people. And it's like, I'm not faulting you for that, but I am saying that who's your audience, right? Like, is your audience YouTube or is your audience the board gamers? Because clearly people are clicking your video, and clearly there's some people that do like that video, but the passion that I've seen that exists not only in board game content creation, but in other ones is when people do unique stuff, when people like do the kind of stuff that makes you go like, oh, I've never seen people do this something like that before, or like, oh, I'm just so engaged in this, or like that made me feel something. And you know, I can almost guarantee you, if you and me said, you know what, every week we're going to just sit down and we're going to record a video where we just talk about what are currently the top 10 games on Board Game Geek, and we're going to do it really high energy, I can almost guarantee you, eventually, even if it's not immediate, and it could be immediate, but if not, eventually, like we would start getting like 10 to 20,000 views on each one of those videos. Our channel will get more traction because that every video would start to do better, but those ones would be our highest performing. But I'm not interested in doing that, especially when it's just something that like, I'm just basically regurgitating the hot list on BGG for other people in a video. But it's just like, I'm not passionate about that. It's not the content I want to watch. And so I can't be the one creating it, but it makes it harder to succeed because that's where the YouTube space has gone since we were like, in 2023, we were getting like almost on average 4,000 to 6,000 views on a video on like the average. And then some videos would do like 15,000, 20,000, 50,000, and some would do less, especially like ones that were more niche and everything. Whereas some of the videos that we've done since we came back, like we've done videos that used to get us like 10,000 views and they've gotten us like 3,000 or 2,000 views. And that makes it harder to make this viable to do outside of like, you know, any full-time jobs or other income that we have, when we're the only way for us to do it then is to sort of give in and make the content we don't want to make, right?
Yeah. And which has been, I mean, we'll transition right away to talking about some other forms of media as well, because obviously we've been on YouTube for a bit, but that's been one of the pluses to doing the podcast, is feeling a little less like there's the kind of like playing the game of like the clickbait and the titles and what are people actually watching. It's like once people, you know, are listening to your podcast, they're probably just going to keep listening, or it's just not the same type of environment. But the last thing I just want to touch on before we move on is just about the finances and analytics part. Is what, like, I think we've talked about this before, our best month ever on YouTube, like just financially speaking, I think was back in 2021 or 2022. And what, it was like, I want to say about $1,100 or $1,500 or something.
I think there was one, like, yeah, it was an anomaly, but I think there was one December that we got like 1,500 or 1,600, but that was like, we never hit that again. We never even, like, on average, we probably were getting at our height $500 to $700 a month in ad revenue.
Yeah, that was like, when we were putting out like at our most consistent period, that was probably the most that it was making. And so when I looked, just out of curiosity, just like lifetime earnings, do you have any guess, Dylan? Our lifetime YouTube earnings in the 5 or so years that we've been monetized?
Like 20. So in the lifetime of our channel, I'm going to say like 25,000.
Wow. You're almost spot on. It's just
under
really? 20. Well, just under 27,000.
Okay.
It's like 26,900 lifetime.
So and that's over 6 years like, again.
5 or 6 years, right? So if you think about that and you say, okay, well, the channel has made approximately $5,000 per year. Well, you have to keep in mind, like, we're taxed on that. Then we have our own operating costs. Like, when we talk about the actual profit, it's probably more like $1,000 or $2,000 of profit. So, and then again, a lot of that goes back into like buying more gear and stuff. So anyways, maybe one day, like, if, you know, I don't know like if this has been valuable to people going in terms of like the numbers behind the scenes. I think we'll leave it there in terms of like our analytics and finance stuff behind the scenes. Maybe we'll do a deeper dive some other day or some type of Patreon content. But
let us know if let us know in comments on like any podcast platform or on YouTube, if that's where you're listening to this, if this is something that's interesting to you, because like there's other avenues. Like right now we're just talking and you guys are listening, but if people were legitimately interested in this is something where we could do like one day, like a live Q&A, and it just kind of come in and ask us any questions you want about our channel, about YouTube as a space, about content creation, about our metrics, about our revenue, and we can just be transparent and kind of like give you insight from being on the inside of this for 6 years. And because maybe we're not talking about something that you're like, oh, they almost mentioned, but I really want to know about this. Yeah. And it's hard to cover everything, right? So
that's the thing I was gonna say. There's a bunch of stuff we don't want to get into without knowing if people want to hear about it, or it might be niche. Maybe only some people want to hear about it. So okay, so for you specifically, Dylan, I mean, if you want to touch on other forms of board game media, like written content, social media, whatever, even Board Game Geek and how that factors into finding content, uploading our content, that kind of thing. But I mainly wanted to ask you to compare how it's been making, recording podcasts rather than making videos, like the space in general, the actual recording process, the editing, like, or you as a consumer, having been someone who, watches videos and listens to podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, like my heart and my love is always going to be with video, just because that's my profession. That's like from being in high school and editing school projects. Like I love video, and I think that's why I'm also so passionate about all of this. Is like, when you see something you love going a direction you don't agree with, like it's hard not to have an opinion. But I will say that it's hard to overstate like the ease difference of making a podcast episode versus making a video. And I don't mean ease as in like it's not that it's easy. It's just that to do a video requires one, I'm going to make like, in terms of us doing videos together, we have to find time where we both are free, and you having 2 kids and us both having jobs and our family and all that kind of stuff. That in and of itself can be a challenge. On top of that, it's like you're setting up the gear, you're setting up the lights, you're like making sure your script is done, you're making sure you're presentable on camera, you're getting the lav mics on, all that kind of stuff, you're shooting the video. Then after that, the video still needs to be edited, it needs to be uploaded, there's motion graphics, like there's so much. With a podcast, we're both in our own homes, we're logging on, and we're essentially having a discussion, and we've done homework or we've done prep and everything, but the editing for a podcast takes me an hour max, sometimes more if Braden is on too, because there's 3 of us. Whereas editing a video is at least 4 times that, and depends on the video. Like, something like different tier list videos or like that solo games video, we're talking like, 20 to 30 hours at least of editing. So it's hard to compare them in that sense. Like we could pump out, if we wanted to do daily podcasts, and if we had the time to log on every morning and that was an issue, like I could edit a podcast every single day. We could have a podcast out every day, and I could say I could commit to that.
Dylan, don't say that. People at home are like, "Oh my god, they're moving to daily."
Yeah, but like I would struggle to be able to do that with videos because I would want it to hit a certain quality. And I feel like we can hit that with podcasts and I can still get it done quickly. With video, there's no way I could do a daily video and not have to make a sacrifice, like no B-roll or one take or whatever. Like there has to be some sacrifice being made. I'm recording tired.
You don't give yourself the flexibility to be like, you know what, I'm going to just rest for a couple days and then come back when I feel up to it. It's like, no, I got to get that video out.
Yeah. So I would just say that like that's the biggest difference for me, is just the ease is something that's like, it's really, really attractive for doing a podcast, and allows us to like reach our audience, to reach all of you and give you something to listen or to watch or whatever more frequently, more reliably. Whereas videos, it's, as life has gone on, it's gotten harder for that to be something we can commit to consistently. We're still trying to figure out what that balance is and what we can commit to without like over-promising.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like we talked about wanting to start a podcast. I mean, we mentioned it on our channel in a channel update video like 2 or 3 years ago. So we've been thinking about doing the podcast for a long time. I think in general, like I knew this inherently before, but it has really stood out to me more since actually starting to do the podcast. Is just like a podcast you can listen to almost anytime, anywhere, right? Like people listen to podcasts like when they're driving, when they're folding laundry, they're doing dishes, they're working, they're whatever, they're working out. Like there's so many different situations where you can listen to a podcast. And also if you're kind of like, you tune out for a second or you zone out and you can kind of like jump back in, you've only missed the audio, right? If you're watching a video, it kind of needs your full attention. If you have it on in the background, you're missing parts, so maybe you're stopping to go back, or if you zone out, you're missing the audio and the video. So you might not have heard something and you also didn't see it, so you might have to kind of like go back. So podcasting is just like, or podcasts in general as a form of like media consumption are just way more like accessible. It's a lot easier to just listen to a podcast and even to stop it and pick it back up. I do that with podcasts quite often. There are board game podcast episodes sometimes I'll listen to in like 5 separate chunks because I get interrupted with work or whatever. I won't do that with videos. Like I'm not going to sit down to watch a video if I think I'm going to be interrupted a whole bunch.
Oh, really?
So,
I mean,
yeah,
not that I do a lot. It just I will do that with, like, I agree with you with podcasts, but I will also do that with videos. But it's rarer for sure.
Okay. I don't know. There's something about like once I start watching something, it's like the same thing as like I don't like watching a part of a movie or whatever. It's like, no. If I don't have 2 hours uninterrupted or whatever, like I'm not starting this movie. I'm not pausing this thing.
What about playing like the first 3 rounds of a board game but not playing the last round? Or like delaying the last round? Well, that's worse.
What kind of question?
I know. I'm trying to trigger you.
Now I was going to say, that was, you knew exactly what you were doing there. But yeah, the other thing I'll say is like, I've struggled with it. We've had people ask us about like, oh, are you going to do like deep dives on the podcast about games and stuff? And like, for me personally, that's the one complaint I have about a lot of even some board game podcasts I listen to. And this is maybe just a personal thing, but I don't like listening to in-depth like rules explanations. Like it's hard for me to fathom like reviewing a heavy or medium heavy game on a podcast where we're talking about this game for like 20, 30, 40 minutes, potentially going in depth about rules when people can't even see what we're talking about. Like, I don't like listening to, it's one thing if I've played the game a lot, like if I've played the game 100 times, then sure, I'm never going to lose track of what's going on. But I've listened to lots of deep dive stuff on podcasts before where even if I've played the game a few times, sometimes it just gets hard to follow or you start to tune out. So that's one thing I think I'm always going to push for, like the deep dive stuff. Like if we're going really in depth about a specific game, I'm always going to prefer that goes on video, especially because then you actually have the video that you can see with it. But man, podcasting has been fun to have these kind of discussions that just wouldn't have felt like they belonged on the channel because they either would have had no B-roll or the B-roll wouldn't have really been applicable, or would just like, yeah, it would have just felt like what's the point of the video? Like, why are we meeting up at your place and setting up the camera to just have a conversation? Right.
Yes,
when people aren't seeing anything other than our faces.
Yeah, for sure. And some people, like you know, we're not going to get into anything here, but like there's a world where one day, you know, we add video to our podcast in terms of like if you want to watch us talk or like see us laugh or like we hold up things to the camera, that's an option. So there's still value there, but you're right. As soon as it would be us like having to meet up for it, it's like this. It starts to not feel like the right medium. Is even just for our lives to be like we're going to get together to have a discussion that we like. Well, we could do this in our own homes, and then you don't have to find a babysitter, and then we don't have to do this. It's like, you know, there's all these things that factor in.
Any other quick thoughts about any other forms of board game media you want to throw in there?
Not really. Like Board Game Geek is something we've posted our videos there for like essentially the whole length of our channel, and that's just because it's another way to reach audiences. I wouldn't say it's ever been like a huge driver of traffic for us, but there has been certain videos or certain instances where, and usually with how to plays, I would say, where like we become like the hot how to play on a game's page. And so once you become that hot how to play, you like people who are going to that page and specifically want to learn the rules, immediately like you get a bunch of traffic from it. But it's still, it's never been something where like the Board Game Geek metric in our analytics is higher than like YouTube suggested traffic or even Google. Like people search it on Google, like how to play this game, that will get us more traffic even than Board Game Geek. So it's something we do, but it's like, I would say to varying degrees of success and never with like the intent of like, this is going to be like a driving force. It's just like, that's where a lot of the board game conversations are happening, and so we want to make sure we're a part of those conversations when we can be.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a good way to, like, for, you know, people who aren't going to YouTube to look for stuff. I think there are people who will discover our channel or who have discovered it just through Board Game Geek. Like, you go to the videos page, there we are, and maybe that person wouldn't have independently gone to YouTube to type in like how to play video for this game or whatever. So I think it can be can be helpful in that way. The main reason I had put Board Game Geek on this list and something I wanted to touch on was just, I mean, I guess this could have also come into the YouTube section, but I'm going to say this to the people listening at home, but look at a lot of the successful channels out there and ask yourself how many of the games they're covering are like in the BGG top 100, for example. And especially like standalone videos. And this has crossed my mind before in the sense of like, if we wanted to grow our channel a whole bunch more, an easy way to do it would just be to like start targeting games that are in the BGG top 100 that we don't have videos for yet, so that we're on that BGG video page in some way for that game. Because there's a lot of people who get people who are new to games or whatever, who go to the BGG page and they'll just start clicking through games and they're like, surface level into the hobby at first. Like, you maybe start looking at what are the games that everyone else loves. So you start looking through Board Game Geek. So a lot of channels I find just like target a lot of the games that are going to be in that top 100. And I also don't want this to sound super negative, because obviously they're targeting games that are well loved and they think a lot of people watch those videos. But at the same time, like, a lot of those pages already have like hundreds of videos. And that's why I respect so much, like when I shouted out those 3 YouTube channels a couple episodes ago, because they're making videos about games that don't even have videos. And they know that those videos aren't going to perform well, but they're doing it because they love what they do and they're passionate about it, not because not because their number one goal is to make money from it. So I find it interesting that so much of what drives board game content on YouTube is determined by how high up the game is on the Board Game Geek rankings. And it's another thing that I just hate.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
And well, obviously we used to do written content. We stopped, like we did it for a while. I think that's one of those things, just it's hard to gauge how interested people are or aren't. I think if you're doing only written content, it's one thing, but I just found it wasn't working for us when we were just like sort of mixing it in.
Yeah, and it was holding back, like maybe the video would be ready, but the article wasn't, or the article is ready, but the video isn't. It's like they rely on each other. We wanted them to go out together, and so it's just like ends up being a bottleneck in some way.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll ask you about in this section is just social media, and I'll be real quick here. You know my thought. I generally don't like a whole lot of social media. I will say for a while I was still checking like board game like Instagram for it, because there's at least like I was discovering some good games there, and there's creators who are on there who we don't see otherwise, and like there's a lot of good stuff on there. But I would say in general, I get most of my board game stuff from either like YouTube, Board Game Geek, and like the board game subreddit, geek forums, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know how much more I want to talk about social media for board games here, but is there anything
I'm pretty much with you on it. Like I Instagram is the only social media that I really use, and I like Instagram, but and I think that there is some really great board game content on Instagram. I also think there's a lot of like just like it all looks the same board game content on Instagram, and I think that that's what kind of I don't really check board game the content on Instagram anymore. It's like if there's certain creators that we have have a relationship with, or we've followed or whatever, that I will check up on, or at least like see in my feed. But in general, like there's so much where like if you showed me the content of like 10 of some of these content creators, I wouldn't be able to differentiate whose was whose, because there's nothing unique about any of them. It's just the same kind of images, the same kind of someone holding up a box or whatever the case may be. And I found that it's more prevalent for there to be like a high influencer culture on Instagram than any other platform, where it's like it is really like it becomes much more about like I'm sponsored by this, or I'm selling you this, or like check out this game that I got sent. And it's like we get sent stuff too, but I find that it's more egregious, where it's just like it's basically someone saying like I was sent this, here's this photo of it to justify that I was sent this. And that's kind of what it feels like. Whereas I feel like I'd like to think that we haven't ever like we've done previews in the past, and we stopped doing them because of a lot of stuff we've talked about in here. But I don't think we're that blatant with it, and we're also more transparent, I think. But anyways, yeah, I'm not a big social media person, and probably never will be anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, if anyone here was expecting us to have a bigger social media presence than we currently do, maybe look elsewhere, because that probably won't happen. All right, now let's talk quickly about the influence of board game media here. So, Dylan, I wanted to ask you, like, how are you personally influenced by the board game media that you consume? So, both like, think of it as from the perspective as a gamer, but also as like a reviewer or content creator, or someone in board game media. So So yeah, like how are you influenced by it, or how do you try to like limit that influence so that it doesn't color your opinion too much?
Yeah, the main thing I'll say for this section, and I'll keep this short, is I'm influenced by what I don't like more than what I do. If someone makes something that I really like, sometimes I will be inspired to be like, you know what, I think I could do something like that too. And an example I'll give is like the Marvel Champions content that I did. I think I was one of the first people to do that kind of content in the Marvel Champions space in that format. But outside of Marvel Champions, I was inspired by other card games and other like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering, all this kind of stuff, and the way that their content creators would present like a new set of cards or different things. So that inspired me to be like, hey, like Marvel Champions doesn't have this. I'm super hyped on Marvel Champions right now. I think people would like this and I'll enjoy making it, right? If there had already been like 6 content creators in the Marvel Champions space doing that kind of content, I doubt I would have made my own, or maybe I would have dabbled, but I wouldn't have been as passionate about it. I think that I'm usually influenced and inspired by the gaps that I see, but then at the same time, I'm inspired by like, well, and influenced, I should say, by what other people are doing in terms of like, if well, how do I want to word this? I'm more influenced in seeing stuff and being like, I definitely don't want to do that. And then that reinforces like, I'm going to go in this other direction. It's like the things that'll steer me away into other directions more than me being like, you know, I saw this creator do this content this way. I'm like, I'm going to do it too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like we've gotten ideas from content creators, either intentionally or unintentionally in the past. And we've seen other people take ideas that we've done, like want to play it, skip it, or using categories in different videos instead of a top 10. Like, you know, whether they've attributed it to us, some of them have, and some of them it's just like maybe it's coincidental, it came out at that same time, or it's influence as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything is art in general is inspiration from other sources and stuff. It's more egregious if you're like straight up like copying stuff, which is where I get when I mentioned the trend stuff before. That's what I don't like about chasing trends on social media, is it very rarely ever feels like someone takes a concept, elevates it, and evolves it. They just take a concept and do it themselves. And it's not unique to board game media. Heck, you see it on like all the video game storefronts these days, where like a game will come out like Hades and it does amazing, and all of a sudden there's like other games in the stores that are coming out and you're like, man, this looks almost like exactly like Hades. And it's like they're just like they're blatant about like, and like why? Well, because it was a successful game, so we can be a success too. And it's like I just hate that so much. I cannot tell you how much. If you're inspired by like a genre and you're like, here's how I'm going to make a better Metroidvania, or here's how I'm going to make a better worker placement game, great. If you're like, Revive was super successful as a board game, so I'm going to make a game that's pretty much exactly like Revive, but I'm just going to change a couple like of the art things. It's like, well, no, now you're just what you're saying. How can I copy this, but change just enough to not be sued? You know what I mean? So,
and let me ask. So, when you like for the creators you watch, when it comes to board games and whatnot, are you like if you have go-to people, and we don't need to name anyone by names here, maybe we'll save that for another time, whatever, but are you going to them because you agree with the games they like and don't like, and you're trying to see like, well, if they like it, I'll probably like this too, and you're using that to guide just like which games you should or shouldn't play? Or do you consume the content more for like the analysis and then make up your own mind? I guess what I'm asking is like, do you listen to creators or watch creators whose opinions you don't agree with? Like they might like completely different games than you, but you just like their commentary. You know what I mean?
There's content. There are creators where I respect their opinions enough or a lot, or it's aligned enough with me over the years that I will not necessarily always seek them out, but if I see that something is posted, I'll put a lot of stock in it because I know that there's an alignment there, or I know there's a trust that I built up with them sort of like passively by watching their content. But honestly, when it comes to consuming content, the thing that makes me most engaged and most makes me want to watch is authenticity. And this is the last little example I'll give because I know we're going long here, but
Part 3 coming next week. No,
yeah, exactly. I watch periodically. I kind of go through phases. I'm in one now again where I watch Magic the Gathering arena content creators. And again, I'm not going to name anyone here. And something I noticed in that space, and it's what made me even make, I think or when I did that one video on our channel for Magic the Gathering, is I really don't like 90%. That's the wrong way to say it. It's not that I don't like them. I don't like their style of making content on Magic the Gathering, but there's very little alternatives, and I really want to watch like certain people do certain strategies, and I respect they're really good players, so I'll watch them. But if I had alternatives, I would jump off them so fast because of how much I don't align with their personalities and inauthenticity. Because I find that they're, at least the ones that I've watched, it's very much more about like every single video has like the same way of reading your advertiser and sponsors at the start. Every single video has the same kind of like tone and inflection and way of talking, and like even if you can tell they're not really in it, they feel like they have to do it and stuff. And honestly, I'd much rather you just be like a normal person and just talk to me and just like do the analysis or whatever without feeling like you have to be performative about it. And I'm not, and I might be in the minority. Like some people might think you need to be performative to be, in certain content creation on camera or whatever. But all that to say is that like authenticity is the number one thing. If I know the person is performing, I immediately don't think that I can trust them. And performing, like, we're not gonna have time to clarify all this here, but I don't mean that like they have a good inflection or that they like are good, like very enthusiastic. Like that's not what I mean by performing. I mean like where I can tell that they're either lying or just fudging something or pretending to like something more than they actually do, or overreacting to something that happened because they know it'll get people to like click because they can use that for the thumbnail or whatever. Like those are the things that make me like jump off of watching certain creators, because I just like immediately disconnect.
And that stuff, like it becomes obvious after a while.
Yeah.
Right?
It really, like,
people watch you. If you're making a lot of videos, you're in the space, like there are people who have potentially watched you and listened to you speak for maybe hundreds of hours. You're not going to be able to sneak things past them if you think that you're going to be, you know what I mean? Like people are going to know when you're not being authentic. And I'll just say right here, like for anyone who's ever wondered, like if the Dylan you're hearing on the podcast or Dylan you're seeing on camera, like that's 100% Dylan. Like when you hang out with him, that's the Dylan you get.
Not 100% of the time, because
well, no, sorry. There are things you hold back about. I mean, I'm saying like, what I'm saying is I never am like, man, why is Dylan acting like this on this video or in this? Like, it always just feels like I'm having a conversation with you the same way as we would off camera, other than being a little more aware of not cursing and things like that, right? But
yeah, and also being more aware that like there is a camera and you have to like, even if you're not wanting to be showy or performative, you still have to like present in a way. I can't be like with my head down, like talking a certain like way like this or whatever. But like, yeah, like I'm not pretending to be someone that I'm not. And it's not that I'm saying that these content creators or these ones I'm referencing or whatever are. It's just that like at times it straddles the line with me not being able to tell because of the style that they have adopted. And I just like, that's just not my preference of the type of stuff I want to watch.
So I'm going to ask you again, because I don't think you answered before. What do you do to avoid influence, or to avoid being too influenced by other media creators? Like, let's say we're going to review a game later. Do you avoid listening, like seeking out reviews for that game if you know you're going to review it? Like, what do you do to kind of avoid having other people's opinions bleed in too much to your own like commentary and thoughts?
I would say that in the last like 2 to 3 years, I've kind of just, it's like maybe hypocritical, but like I don't watch a lot of board game video content, and in part of that is because when I'm engrossed in it and making it myself and playing so many board games, I find that like unless I'm seeking out specific things, I'm not necessarily looking for more opportunities to like get more. I already have so much board game content and stuff around me in my regular life that I'm not necessarily looking for more. But more than that, it's because I don't want to unintentionally be influenced by something, or even like the way I've looked at it before is if I come up with a great idea and I'm just passionate about it, I just want to do it like that solo games video is the great example. Like if I come up with an idea and I just really want to do it, I don't want to beforehand be like search, because if I find out that someone did a video that's similar or the same thing, I don't want to be like, well, now I can't do it because someone already did it. I'd rather just make the video and then find out afterwards and be able to say, oh, I didn't even realize, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not the first person to do solo board game videos. I'm probably not the first person to do, I know I'm not the first person to do like solo game videos that are more like cinematic and stuff like that. But I don't want to necessarily watch something and then be unintentionally like influenced by what I'm watching, or be discouraged from something I want to make because I'm like, well, but now is mine going to be too similar to that? I'd rather just like do my thing and then be involved in the space, but I know that I'm not necessarily like doing something because of someone else, if that makes sense. And that's not to say I don't watch boarding content. It's just that like I purposely don't consume a lot of it. Like I'm not sitting down and like all the channels that we're subscribed to, like watching every new video that comes out. I find that like I'll be more creatively driven if I am more selective, because I'm not going to be influenced in terms of like how I do or don't do certain things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, I would say that if we know if it's like, if I haven't heard of a game before, or I've heard the title, but I don't know, haven't heard anyone's thoughts, like I'll usually seek out whether it's, on Board Game Geek, reading the ratings, podcast review, whatever. But the second I know enough about a game to know that I'm interested, that's sort of where I try to cut off getting anything else. Like then I'm not going to seek out extra reviews, because I'm like, I'm probably going to play the game, probably going to cover it on the channel. I don't want to have too many things color my opinions. There have been times in the past where I've kind of thought about like, should I get ready to do the review, and then after I feel like I have my review ready, then should I go watch reviews to see if there's anything I've missed? Because there have been times where I've reviewed a game and then later in the future gone back and watched other ones and been like, oh, this person said this, but like if I had known that, I would have like almost like rebutted that in my review video. Like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. But then you don't want to like do too much research, watch too many videos, and then you're kind of, giving yourself too much, you're exposing yourself to too many other opinions that might kind of like,
and
bleed their way into that. So
I should really, really quickly highlight, like I have, and I'm not saying I've never been influenced. I'm saying how I currently am motivated in terms of like what I will consume, because I can think of two instances where like I specifically did content in not response, but like because of other videos. Like one, again, we're not naming any channels here, but like I did a Marvel Champions video way back about like the 5 things I love about Marvel Champions. That was because around the same time there was a video that came out that was like something to do with like what I hate about Marvel Champions or dislike about Marvel Champions or something like that. And I was super into it as a content creator at that time, so I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do the sort of the flip side, the flip side of this. So that was one. And then we, like for the Lost Ruins of Arnak, how to play, for instance, the reason I felt compelled to do that one in the first place was to, one, challenge myself to see if I could do a faster how to play than the ones that were currently out there, because we received the game and I thought, the only way I'm going to do this how to play when there's already like big content creators doing it is if I can do it differently. And the different for me that one was, can I do it quicker? Can I be like the quickest how to play that is thorough on Lost Ruins of Arnak? And so that kind of influence, sometimes it's like, but to me that's the same as like sort of identifying the gaps, identifying the niches on YouTube, like creating the content you want to see. It's like, I want to create how to play for this, but I want to be faster. And so like you're influenced by what other people are doing, but you're not necessarily like, it's not driving the creative content, it's driving like the speed that the video is released at, kind of thing.
So Dylan, obviously we've gone a bit long here. We're at almost an hour and a half. Is there, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave here on? Any regrets about board game content creation up to this point? Anything you do differently if you could go back? Any shout outs for people along the way? Like anything at all you want to wrap up with here that we didn't get to touch on?
The only thing I want to just kind of stress is, like, this is a single episode of a podcast, even with us going long. It's a bite-sized like look at or listen to YouTube in the space we've been in and our thoughts on it. And so like there's things that I've said here that like, could easily be taken out of context for either of us, really. And just know that like if you have questions, if you're like, is this what he means by that? Like, just like comment on the episode, reach out to us in the Discord, whatever, because there's so much cool, great discussion that can be had here. Like, I don't have anything against content creators. I don't have anything against our hobby, our space, the other people in the way that they choose to engage with content creation. This is just like how we feel, how I feel after being in this space for 6 years, and know that like whatever you might be hearing us say here, it's like there's more to be said about it. Like there's nothing where it's been conclusive here. Like even the stuff to do with like clickbait and thumbnails and all that kind of stuff, like my opinion might be strong, but there's nuance. There's good things about even the bad things that I said, right? And it's just we don't have time to get into all that. So I just don't. I say that because I know that I'm passionate about this and I know that I'm opinionated, but it comes from being like when you've been in doing something for like 6 years, you kind of feel precious about it, and when you see it going a certain way, even if it's going to continue to go that way, and even if I'm the one who's going to be eventually in the minority and left behind, like I want to be opinionated about it because I don't think we're the only ones, and in fact I know we're not because of the comments that we get and other from other creators, from our audience, from our community, and I just like I want there to it's almost like I want those people to know that we exist and that people like us exist and creators like us exist, that YouTube isn't just this stuff that you see everywhere, that it's just like that is what you see everywhere because it happens to be quote unquote working, but it doesn't mean that that's what everyone loves to do or wants to do, and that there are creators like us who are just saying like, what do we want to watch, and we're going to make that.
Yeah, well said. I wish I had some type of inspirational piece of advice or something to end on. I think you have to, like, if you're considering getting into this space, you have to know what you're getting into, but you also have to be open. Like, you have to be adaptable. You have to be open to change. Because there's no way to know exactly what you want your channel to look like and what's going to work before you start. So there is going to be some trial and error. You can't plan, if it was up to me, I've said this before, we would have planned and planned and planned and planned forever and got things perfect, and maybe the channel still wouldn't have launched. And like, I needed Dylan to be like, no, let's get it out there and start making videos. And I think that's how we improve. So in some ways I would tell people, like, have a good idea of what you want to do, but at the same time, don't sit on that too long. If you're considering this, start making videos, because that's how you're going to see what is or isn't working, or what you are or aren't enjoying doing with your time, rather than over planning and then taking one step and going, oh, I don't even know if I want to do this, but I spent so much time planning on this. So it's kind of a hard balance to strike, but yeah, try to stand out in some way. Like Dylan has said many times, either do something different, or if you're doing something similar, do it better.
Yeah. And if there's something you don't like about YouTube videos or YouTube in general, like it's something like a type of video or type of style or whatever, like if you are seeing a bunch of that and you are like, man, I don't like that, and it's something that's working, don't ever do it just because it's working. Don't be part of the problem. And like, again, I'm privileged to say that because I don't, like, I have a full-time job. So like, I'm not faulting anyone, especially if they need to do it because this is their job and that's how they make their income. I want to stress that. But if you're in a situation where it's a hobby or you want to start or whatever, and you're like, for instance, you're like, man, I just hate all these AI shorts. But then you're realizing like all those AI shorts, like 50,000 views. So you're like, well, I'm just going to do AI shorts. I'm imploring you, like what we need in the world, what we need on YouTube, what we need in general is people willing to just not take the easier road, and the easier road, maybe easy is the wrong word there, but the road that is like, it has a higher percentage chance of getting you what you want, but at the expense of your passion, at the expense of your creativity, at the expense of what you want to be doing, your enjoyment, all that. Like, don't sacrifice those things, because that's what makes you unique. That's your superpower. Your superpower is all the things that you're inspired to go to YouTube in the first place. I mean, unless maybe you're inspired by AI slop, I don't know, but I doubt it. You know what I mean?
No, but the quality really suffers when you either try to just copy what other people are doing, or you cut corners and try to make it easier. And just to go back to what you said, like, we say all this stuff as viewers too, not just as people. Like, if we shut down the channel tomorrow, I would be saying all of these same things. I'm not saying this because I want this to be more successful for us or something like that. Like, I'm saying this because, like, I hate going on to YouTube and seeing stuff where I'm like, why isn't there more variety? Or why are there 7 videos that came out today all about the same topic? So yeah, I say this just as much, if not more, from the perspective of a viewer. And the last thing I wanted to mention here, I promise is the last one, is if you're someone who is watching videos, listening to podcasts, whatever, just be kind, okay? We haven't had to deal with a lot of this, but I've seen a lot of creators deal with like a lot of unfair hate. If you don't like the content that someone's making and they're not actually doing anything wrong, you don't think they're being like malicious or misleading, whatever, like, you don't need to go into people's comments and just be like, this video sucks, or like, try harder, or like, I've seen all kinds of just rude, hateful stuff. If you don't like people's videos or podcasts, just don't engage with it. But like, don't go out of your way to bring people down when it doesn't affect you in any way.
Yeah, if you can be anything, be kind.
All right, Dylan. We are about as stuffed as it can possibly get. Episode 14 and 14.5 here, running on total probably almost 3 hours. But let us know what you think. Obviously, this has been our longest episode yet. We didn't plan for it to be a two-parter. As with all of our episodes, we kind of, we don't talk about everything in depth before going in. We kind of come in with our own notes and kind of hash it out as we go live. And this is, part of what we think makes our podcast good, and what's been good about our YouTube channel is having these off the cuff and making them feel, like Dylan said before, authentic and not too rehearsed. But if this is a topic you liked and you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, we could definitely revisit this in the future, like Dylan said, whether that's a live Q&A or doing another podcast episode or whatnot. So yeah, otherwise you can find our videos on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/allyoucanboard. We've mentioned before, you know where to find our Discord. You can find it in the show notes. You can find our Patreon, patreon.com/allyoucanboard. Go check us out there if you want more info. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here through this long two-part episode. Let us know what you think, and join us again in, I guess, just under a couple weeks now for episode 15. Thank you so much.
See you next time.